of how to address those issues and the nexus between analysis, governance, architecture and action in order to give international processes a new lease of life. Just over a year ago, governments committed to finalizing a global legal agreement to address the climate challenge in 2015. If I look at what we have to potentially make this happen, some of the signs are actually quite encouraging. And let's begin in that context with science, or the analysis, to stay with the language of this event. By the time politicians need to finalize their agreement in 2015, the next full IPCC assessment report will be available. In a process that is strongly science-based, the fifth assessment report represents a critical piece of the political puzzle. In fact, we almost don't need that report to realize that we're in deep trouble, that limiting temperature increase to 2 degrees is a dream of the past, and that nothing seems to indicate that we have any serious plans to do anything about it. 3 issues strike me as critical in ensuring that the fifth assessment report has the needed impact. First, ensure the credibility of the process. Second, ensure the political will to act. And third, everything possible must be done to ensure the credibility of that scientific process. Skeptics managed to find many chinks in the armor of the IPCC the last time around. Most of the damage probably resulted from how communication was handled rather than actual scientific shortcomings. This time around, it will be critical to ensure a similar situation does not occur. People's awareness of the reality of climate change is actually on the increase, but their confidence in scientists and science is very easily shaken. The second, perhaps more important point, relates to how science is communicated. Many see climate change as a long-term issue with mainly global implications. In other words, they are less familiar with how they are likely to be impacted personally in their daily lives. I believe that this understanding of potential personal impacts is critical in driving a public call for political action. The scientific community, the IPCC, rightly shies away from alarmism, and my call is certainly not for something in that direction. Having said this, I do believe that there is an opportunity and a responsibility for the scientific community in every country, working closely with schools, with universities and governments to ensure that the meaning of the fifth assessment report is presented in a local context. And I would strongly advocate that the IGES, the UN University and others take the initiative now to ensure that this happens in 2015. It's probably not by accident that the assessment reports of the IPCC consist of 3 parts. And my third point is in relation to the science that we need, or how we can be more effective in terms of making the communication between the science that we have at our disposal and what we can actually do about it. I would not be surprised if many people feel paralyzed by the scale of the issues and their related inability to do anything about them. A successful effort to make people more aware of how they're likely to be affected by inaction needs to put an equal emphasis on what action actually lies within their reach. And the IPCC provides us with much information about our understanding of the problems as it does about our understanding of the solution. In the latter context, I believe that the work of Working Group 3 of the IPCC is absolutely critical. My call to the scientific community is therefore to explain that we can act, that there are solutions, and that those solutions can help to create a model for growth that does not bring us into further conflict with the megaforces that I talked about earlier. The second critical factor is that we need the political will to act on that science. When many of us were basically hanging around at Rio+20, waiting for something to happen, I asked Brice Lalonde, the former Environment Minister of France and Special UN Representative for Rio+20, if he could arrange a meeting for me with the then very fresh President of France, Hollande. My request at that time was based on my strong conviction that without a real world leader taking on the 2015 challenge, we are probably doomed to fail. Yes, more than 80 heads of state and government came to Copenhagen and failed to deliver. But that, to my mind, was because of the process that brought them there and what they were asked to agree and how that agreement was presented. There are very important process and leadership lessons to be learned in that context. France is a superpower. It's demonstrated its commitment to the issue. It has strong international relations and many of the diplomatic skills we need. And I could not think of anyone better placed than President Hollande to create the high-level political momentum that we need in order to make 2015 a success. At the end, President Hollande did not come to Rio+20 and the meeting never happened. But France has indicated its willingness to host the 2015 climate conference, and that, I think, is a positive sign. It's not something that I can in any way claim any personal credit for, but I do believe that that offer on the part of France has significantly increased the chances of success in 2015. But not even a French president can make a strong 2015 agreement happen on his own. The question then is how the political stars will become aligned more broadly. Who will win the elections in Germany? What role will climate change play in the US primaries? Will China's next 5-year plan boost the current course? Will the global economy by then be well on the road to recovery? Impossible questions to answer today, but critical questions to bear in mind in the context of a well-managed political process. So we need to ensure that the credibility of the IPCC's Fifth Assessment Report is untarnished. We need political will to act on the science. And the third point is that we need political ability as well as the political will. At the moment, a few critical components are lacking in that context. The first is that there is no strong public call for climate action today. Without followers, it is very hard to be a leader.